Welcome back. We continue live right here on Pittsburgh CW. Bob Pompeani and Gene Collier. And Gene, I asked you in the break, I just want to get your thoughts on this. The NFL is still considering what to do with the national anthem. This is the same league that's made it impossible to detect what is a catch and what isn't a catch, and to the point where they had to go back and just basically come back to where it should have been at the first place. And now they don't know what to do with the national anthem, threatening teams that take a knee by giving them 15-yard penalties. I mean, where does this come from?
Look, play the game, play the anthem. Who cares who does what? I don't get it. It's a free country. You want to stand, stand. You want to sit, sit. Play the game. It's what's the
and play
what's
the national
issue?
anthem. I don't understand why they're talking about just play the national anthem. It's been that way. It's about the military. It's about this country. Play it. I don't get it. Dave in South Park. What's up, Dave?
Hey, Bob. Just a question. Le'Veon Bell and his not doing OTAs, not doing, camp. Is he ruining his reputation amongst the NFL? I know he's not going to be a Steeler in 2019. Is the team going to look down on the fact that, hey, I'm not a team guy, I just want my money? What do you think about that?
I think he definitely wants his money, and he has a right to want his money. I don't think he helps the team in any way, and I think I would argue that he cost the team a win in Chicago last year by him not being ready to play in Week 3. So, Gene, that's just my opinion. I said it when it happened. That night we took calls here with Chris Hoke, and Chris didn't necessarily agree with it, but I said if he is what he should have been, they have a run game which takes time away from Chicago's run game, which killed the Steelers that day. It hurts the team.
Yep, it does, but the NFL is all about the money. Anybody who tells you different is just incorrect. These guys are playing for a short term. They can make a ton of money. They're going to make every last dollar they can while they can make it. I don't blame them for it.
Yes, I think that Le'Veon Bell has cost himself a lot of money. He's going to make another $14.5 million fine.
But in the end, where is he? Oh, you mean by not taking
the big deal?
Probably.
He's not going to get that same deal offered to him next year by anyone.
Well, he's convinced that he is.
Okay. Well, convince people that you're both a wide receiver and a running back. We also have Johnny Cam on Twitter. He says, Bob, ask Gene if he knows the Pirate record since Marte went on the DL. He's a Gold Glover. He is that. But well, and Gene said he's having a good offensive season, but overall base running, we've been talking about other issues.
It's about 500. He went on the DL early last week. The Pirates won 5 of 6. Now it's about 500.
All right, line one, we go. Mike in Breezewood. What's up, Mike?
Yeah, back to what the previous caller had said about it's a developmental problem. We have Tabata, Alvarez, Blanco. All these guys come up and we hear the talk about them. The base running, that's all developmental. That should be taught through the minors up. And as far as the national anthem, that's a respect thing. It's stand for the national anthem. People died to keep that flag flying so they could play that game. So stand up and respect the people that kept that flag flying.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. Let's go to Sandy in South Park. No, I'm sorry. Sandy in South Park. What's up, Sandy?
Hi, Bob.
How are you?
You there?
Yes.
Hey, I agree with the previous caller. It's all about respect. A lot of these players are overplayed drama queens. They need to learn respect for their country and their flag and the people who serve for us, not just about the almighty dollar. And
all right, Sandy. Thanks. They're going to come to some conclusion here at some point on this, don't they? They can't leave it in the hands of individual teams. I don't think that's the right way to do it.
Bob, again, play the anthem, stand, sit. I don't. Why is it so complicated?
It's not that complicated. All right, we're going to take a break. That's what this show's all about. A lot of opinions, a lot of complicated situations. We're here to try to solve them. Call Dr. Gene right here, right now. We'll be right back.